And let's face it, until they show me that they could pass block and give him enough time to hit his targets. And look, he's going to hit Brown enough anyway tonight. But is he going to have time to spread it around with Devontae and go to Goddard and maybe, get Quez Watkins down the field on a go route? I don't know. But all I know is they do one thing really, really well, and that's run the football. And that's the formula for a win.
Game day here on a Monday on Birds 365. That's right, Monday Night Football action down at Lincoln Financial Field. Vikings, Eagles. We're now about too many hours away.
16 hours away, I think, Joe.
No, that's way
116 hours away.
It seems like too much. Well, one guy who will be in the house with John McMullen, but in the broadcast booth for the Eagles Spanish-speaking broadcast, the voice of the Eagles in Espanol, Rickie Ricardo, joins us. Ricardo, please tell us how you say, "What can Brown do for you?" in Spanish.
What can Brown do for you?
Yes, AJ, I expect you to use this tonight when he gets his first Eagle touchdown pass.
Okay, ¿Qué puede ser Brown por ti?
And then you'll get served with the litigation from UPS from trademark.
Good morning,
hey, all news is good news, right? All publicity is good for play. You might get a deal out of it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's true.
Sneak it in there tonight.
Letter, but one of the two is okay with me.
Rickie, good to see you, buddy.
Good morning, boys.
Good morning. A little bit too early.
Can somebody tell me, first of all, can somebody explain to me why there are two games at the same time tonight?
They staggered it, but here's my issue, Rickie. Why not have an East Coast game and a West Coast game if they're going to stagger it? Yes. And obviously that would give the people of Philadelphia a little bit earlier of a start time. They could finish up their revelry a little bit earlier, get to work a little bit easier the next day. It's a bad job by the NFL. I think that's fair to say.
I agree. I would have loved to have had the 7 o'clock slot with Vikings and Eagles and maybe put that Arizona Raider.
Yeah.
That could have been your 10 o'clock start. And, everybody would have been happy.
Ricky Ricardo's schedule maker, better than the NFL schedule maker.
Where's Goodell when you need him? I'm right here.
Yeah.
All right, Ricky. Last week, the Eagles ran the ball very effectively. Yeah. Kind of like they did last year when they, in midstream, changed tactics and became a running team and ran their way into the playoffs.
Correct.
They did it again last week. And they had to do it again last week. And I praise Jalen Hurts for doing just that last week and running the Eagles to a victory. Same thing in front of the hometown crowd tonight. Will the offensive coaching staff come in and say, well, once again, the thing we do best, other than throw it at A.J. Brown, is run the football. How run-heavy will they be tonight?
They've got to be at least a good 70-30. I'm going to that extreme.
Whoa.
Right? The pass protection, all right, give you 65-35. The pass protection was not what it was supposed to be. My fear, guys, and I think we've discussed this at nauseum all week on different shows and, in barbershops and everywhere else Eagle football gets talked about, is how long is Jalen Hurts going to last physically putting himself out there like that with his own runs? I think when you've got Sanders, who is relatively healthy, I don't know if Miles Sanders is ever really fully healthy, but when you've got Gainwell and, you've got your share of guys that can carry the load, that offensive line is built for run blocking. They're not as good, or at least they weren't last week, in pass protection as they were, and they have been in run blocking situations. Do what you do best, kill time off that clock, and protect Jalen Hurts, because as much as he ran last week, taking that kind of risk, he's never going to get through 17 games healthy, and you're going to see plenty of Gardner Minshew. So I think it's basic ABC football. That line is better as a run-blocking unit. They've got healthy backs at this time of the season. Guys haven't been banged up yet. Use them. Run the football, kill the clock, and let's win maybe a 21-17 game as opposed to a 31 game.
Now, what do you say to people, Ricky, that say, well, you're paying $100 million to AJ Brown. You better get him the football. You didn't get Devontae Smith the football. He's a potential superstar in this league. You got to get him the football. Nick Sirianni's a offensive mind. He was supposed to be brought in to play 11 personnel and throw the football. You have all these outside voices. And let's be honest, they start at the top of the NovaCare complex with Jeffrey Lurie. He wants this high-octane passing offense. Are they happy if you just run the football and you play that way and you get out of Lincoln Financial Field with a grinded-out, ugly win?
I think if you win football games, I know, do style points matter here? I think coming away with wins will make people happy. Now, if during the course of the game, they're not thrilled by highlight plays and there's not a lot of an aerial show, well, so be it. Is the objective to win, as Herm Edwards said, do we play to win the game or are we here to entertain? So, look, the Eagles do certain things better than other teams. And one of those things, as we have seen from that point last season where they decided to go ahead and run the football, is chew up the clock, run the football. They are effective that way. At the same time, if it's not their quarterback that is running the football, they're keeping him relatively healthy. And let's face it, until they show me that they can pass block and give him enough time to hit his targets, and look, he's going to hit Brown enough anyway tonight. But is he going to have time to spread it around with Devontae and go to Goddard and maybe, get Quez Watkins down the field on a go route? I don't know. But all I know is they do one thing really, really well, and that's run the football. If that's the formula for a win, and especially now that the Giants are 2-0, the Cowboys of all people come up with a win against the AFC champions yesterday, and they're 1-1. You've got a battle in this division. So the key is to win the game, and if they're going to do it ugly, so be it.
Real quick, Ricky, I have never been less impressed by a 2-0 team in my life. I'm not worried about the New York Giants at all. Is anybody worried about the New York Giants? Jody, are you worried about the New York Giants?
No, I will say this. They're playing more inspired football. They've got a little bit more of an edge to them, I think, Brian Daboll.
I think he's much better coach. I think he's
the new general manager.
Already
in the right direction.
Best coach they've had since Tom Coughlin after 2 games.
They're trending in the right direction. Do I have fear that they're going to run neck and neck with the Eagles all year in the division? No. At some point, the Giants will level off.
I'll tell you what, though. They're going to go 4-0 before they lose to Green Bay and London. They're going to win their next 2 games with Dallas coming in there on a Monday night. It's going to be bedlam in the Meadowlands, and then they've got the Bears after that. Now,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Am I fearing the Giants? I mean, I'm not fearing the Giants, but they're going to start 4-0, and then they're going to go to London and probably lose to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers over there, or in Europe. But still, those are wins that are piling up early. So, do I think they're a threat to the Eagles? If they get ahead of the Eagles, you never know.
Giants will lose one of their next 2 games. Write it down.
Cooper Rush, baby. Cooper
Rush. Though they'll probably be favored in both, I'll predict that they'll lose one of those 2. All right.
Which one?
They could lose either game. They could lose both. They could be 2-2. But
they're all at home. They're all in the Meadowlands. They're going to beat the Bears. Are terrible.
Bears are terrible. Bears are terrible. I feel sorry for Justin Fields. They're terrible.
I do too. That offensive line is a sieve.
Yeah,
not good. You're right. Probably if they lose, more likely to lose one will be next week against the Cowboys. And Cooper Rush didn't impress me. Well, impressed me to a point because he did drive him down the last possession to get the field goal
all he does
that he needed. That Brett Maher just snuck inside the upright. Ricky, I need your prediction. Johnny Mac, I always ask you this every single week, but I want to get it from Ricky first.
All right.
Because I'm torn. I'm going to pick the Eagles. They may or may not cover. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be close. But I don't know what to predict, although I should. Whether if the Eagles win the toss, will the coach defer? I oftentimes complain that, come on, put your defense, put your offense out there. I don't know if I want them to put their offense out there. Rickie Ricardo tells me they're going to be able to run it down their throats, and they will do it again tonight. So maybe I'm rooting for that. If the Eagles win the toss, will they defer? Will they take the ball?
Yes, they will defer, and they will want the football coming out of halftime.
Yeah.
Does the analytics say so? You buying into this crap too, Ricardo?
Look, it's the way that they operate. It's the chic in thing to do, I guess, in the coaching ranks in the National Football League. Is to put
and John's got less of a problem with this. He hates the fact that everybody plays the Fangio defense, but he's okay with the fact that everybody defers in the National Football League. Why not be the team, but be the creative team, be the outside the box team?
And remember this, Jody. When they kick off tonight, when they flip the coin, half the country's still going to be watching Tennessee and Buffalo. So for entertainment's sake, go ahead and put the defense out on the field. Half the country's still watching the other football game. When the second half begins and Tennessee and Buffalo is over, well, we'll start the second half with our dynamic offense on the field.
Now I have to defend myself, Jody.
Go ahead, you can try.
I don't always advocate deferring, but most of the time. But I think you have to be self-aware as a coach. If you know the opposition has a better offense, a more explosive offense, then I want the football. I want to try to drain clock from minute one. I want to try to go on a 13-play, 75-yard drive and shorten the game. That, Tampa Bay in the playoffs last year. I win that toss, I'm taking the football. I'm trying to keep it away from Tom Brady as much as possible. Now, a normal game, as Rickie says, you want to sandwich the first half and the second half with scores. And if you do that, you usually win the football game. The Eagles did that last week in Detroit. They did win. It shouldn't have been as difficult, but you usually win the football game. So I do think there is a little bit of a door open if you're playing an explosive team. Now, is Minnesota that explosive? I don't know. Maybe
you were
they
singing
will be.
Kirk Cousins' praises pretty good earlier in the show, Johnny Mac.
Yeah, but remember, this is a new team. Like if it was a Mike Zimmer team, no, defer. They're going to try to play. They're not going to try to play to their strengths. Now,
I want to see Rager. I want to see Rager waiting for that opening kickoff at the height of the energy vibe inside Lincoln Financial Field.
Good point, Rickie. I had not thought of that. Could Jalen cough it up on the opening kickoff? That would be.
Rager will drop the opening kickoff and will fumble it to the Eagles.
I'm gonna ruin both of your days. He doesn't return.
He's not returning.
No,
kicks.
He doesn't return kicks. They have a very good kick returner. Wangu from Iowa State. I think that's how you pronounce it. He had 2 touchdowns on kickoff returns last year. So that might scale you away from kicking the football.
So then would you put Aaron Sipas out there and just go, we're gonna free kick it from the 35-yard line?
They would still probably put Wangu out there. So you're probably now on punts, you're gonna have a chance to see Jalen Rager. So maybe he can make a mistake in that aspect of it. But that's interesting, Rickie, because there's 3. Jordan Hicks is coming back, who was a great linebacker for this team. Chandon Sullivan's coming back as their starting nickel corner. He was here for a while. And Jalen Rager. They're not concerned with Jalen Rager, concerned with Jordan Hicks. Guy's a playmaker. Sacked Brett Favre last week, forced a fumble last week.
I loved Hicks when he was here. The Eagle linebacking core has not been. Look, let's be honest.
They haven't had a linebacker like Jordan Hicks.
Not been the same since he left. So I agree with you there. But put Kirk Cousins out on the field. Hit him, for Pete's sake. Get that vaunted, high-paid defensive line right out of the gate. That's the one unit tonight that I want to see take a quantum leap forward here. Is the Eagle defensive line tonight. Put Cousins out on the field, sack Cousins in that first sequence on that first drive, get the energy going for the defense inside the building and set the tone that the Vikings are not just going to come in here and have their way on offense against this Birds defense. And I'm dead serious. Go ahead and win the toss, defer, hit smack Cousins in the mouth a couple times, and then let's run the football a little bit.
No, this will be unpopular with Eagle Nation, but sorry. You mentioned the wanted defensive line, highly paid defensive line, Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Brandon Graham. And we all know Brandon is one of the most popular Eagle players, great guy, great motivational leader, strip sack, Tom Brady, Super Bowl, all those things. He didn't do diddly last week either. And Johnny Mack and others who are there practice every single day have told me all pre-season, ooh, he looks good. He looks spry. Doesn't look like he's coming back off a year injury. Looks like he's actually ready to jump in and play. Well, he hid pretty well, like the rest of the Eagle defensive line last week. BG under a little bit of a microscope tonight for you, Ricky?
I agree. And so is Fletcher Cox. I mean, Fletcher Cox last week had the one play, the sack where he does the whole, the crawl thing on the field. And then the next thing I know.
Which, oh, by the way, the quarterback dropped the ball ahead of time. He wouldn't have had the sack if the quarterback just grabbed the snap.
That means going into the blue tent, coming off the field after doing the whole army crawl on the field. So I couldn't figure that one out. Look, these two guys could be their last seasons in the National Football League. We know that. They didn't do it last week. Hopefully the home opener energy tonight will be enough to light their fire and get them rolling tonight, because they will be needed. This is a Viking team that is explosive. Look, you can talk about Kirk Cousins all you want. He occasionally will give you a tremendous game, and we have seen him have good games against the Eagles in the past, both in the Washington uniform and in the Viking. Now, I think if you put your hands on him early in the game, he's one of those quarterbacks. He's human after all. That you put something into his mind that he's going to be under pressure tonight. He's a different guy. But those are two key people right there in BG and Fletcher Cox that are veterans. That we all love them in Philadelphia. You got one more year left. Fine, go out there, do your job, put some pressure on that quarterback tonight. We're going to need it early in the game.
All right, Ricky, you're taking phone calls all the time on WIP. Jody's taking phone calls on WIP as well. You know this fan base. You know what they want. You just talked about it. Pressure, 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 aggression, sacks. They're not blitzing a lot. So what can they do other than Hassan Reddick playing better, Brandon Graham playing better, as you mentioned, Fletcher Cox playing better, Javon Hargrave playing better? Is it just as simple as they have to play better?
Well, it's not only that, but I think that with the talent that they've got behind them at linebacker in the secondary this year as compared to what we've seen the last couple of seasons, I think they can afford to take some more risks and have a few more blitzes. Yes, Reddick needs to be the guy that he's supposed to be. Everything you just said is correct, but I just don't. I watched Wink Martindale's defense last night as I watched the Giant game. That's more Jim Johnson than what the Eagles are doing. I'm not a read and react guy. I hope Gannon's a little bit more aggressive tonight in his play calling on the defensive side. I think you can afford to blitz more because I think you've got better talent back there, in case that ball does get thrown or or the offense does function. So not only do people have to step it up for the back of their own baseball or football card in this instance, but I think Gannon needs to be much more aggressive, play a Philadelphia-style, quote-unquote, Philadelphia-style defense, more pressure. Look, don't do things that are going to risk or leave things open down the field unnecessarily, but I think he can afford to take a few more risks. I thought he was very, very vanilla. Look, against the Lions, when they did blitz, John, you were there, after the opening drive, when they put some pressure on Goff, it kind of shut him down for the rest of the first half. So there was a big difference between the play calling on defense on the first drive when DeAndre Swift is running right through everybody like Swiss cheese, as compared to the rest of that first half. And then I thought they kind of sat back on their laurels a bit as the Ravens did yesterday, to give you an example,
Yeah.
last week. Don't do that, okay? Stay aggressive. I think Gannon needs to be more aggressive. He can call a few more blitzes, some run blitzes too, please, against a guy like Dalvin Cook, all right? And make those kind of moves. I think you can do that tonight, and I think that'll help you win this football game.
Ricky, there are some things that I try and be ahead of the curve on and think outside the box on. And there are some things that I'm just dug in, heels in the ground, old school about.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a bit of an issue with the Eagles and how they prepped for this season, same as last season, maybe even more so. Even this week, guys who aren't injured, guys who, okay, have been around for a while, but aren't 40, like Tom Brady, are not practicing because of rest. No injuries, just rest. Josh Sweat isn't all that old, but he had some injury problems when he was in college. But we need to give him downtime and give him rest. It's just not my way of doing things. I'm going to keep on top of this, and I'm going to evaluate the Eagles and where they're at. Week 1, the defense looked like they weren't ready to play for me. Are you old school? Are you new school? Are the Eagles smarter than us, or are the Eagles outsmarting themselves?
I am as old school as you are, Jody. I am Don Shula with a grin 2-a-days, watching my guys almost faint. All right. Well, maybe not to that extreme, but you know what I mean. No. I am not a proponent of this analytic-driven, and this is medical analytics-driven approach to getting a football team ready for a season and for a specific football game. It's beautiful that the injury list says nothing. All right, that's great. There's nobody that's out tonight. Now, if that's the goal, and obviously they've had so many injury issues the past few seasons that they have gone out of their way to put a lot of emphasis on how can we keep guys healthy. That's one thing. But at the same time, if you have healthy guys that are not ready to play, then the game suffers right then and there. It's a thin line. I would lean more on your end, Jody. I think, some more activity. I would have trained a little bit harder as far as training camp and preseason is concerned. That's water under the bridge. We can do nothing about that now. But I think a little bit more intense preparation would not hurt this team one bit.
Is that preparation the reason, you talked about last week, Ricky, and the Eagles had that game well in hand, and they let Detroit back in the game. Now you saw
gassed.
Yeah.
Gassed.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Baltimore. There was Las Vegas yesterday, a couple other games. Jets, Jody's JETS Jets.
Yeah.
You had all these comebacks all over the NFL.
Mine too, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a Jet guy too.
I don't want to get you both in trouble. So
that's all right. Hey, the Jets and Eagles are rivals.
Yeah, Jody's already in trouble.
They're both
Eagles own the Jets when they play anyway.
I won't talk about baseball because I'll get Ricky in
there.
Yeah.
Green teams that fly. That's all.
Exactly. So I'm not going to bring up baseball either. But so many teams are losing these big leads, and they look like they have everything in order, everything very comfortable, foot off the gas, whatever you want to call it. Is it foot off the gas? Is it coaching mistakes, or is it prepreation?
I think it's a combination of both. I really do. You look at that Raven team yesterday; they were gassed. These guys were not physically ready. The Dolphins receivers were running by them like they were statues late in that football game. These guys were hunched over. The Raven defense, after, for Pete's sake, Duvernay 103-yard kickoff return to start the game. By the time they got to the fourth quarter, the Raven defense was gassed. Half of that is the way they prepared all the way from training camp. And then again, lack of aggressiveness on the defense. I don't know who is the new defensive coordinator, because Martindale now is with the Giants.
Yeah, Wink. I have to look that up. That's a good. It's a good.
Whoever's
question.
running the defense in Baltimore is just as guilty of what Gannon was guilty of last week. You know, taking the foot off the gas, read and react. We've got a lead, and sometimes you roll that dice and it comes up, you know, the wrong way. So, I'm a proponent of constant pressure. If guys need the oxygen mask, you know, late in the game, so be it. Put it on them. They've got a whole week to rest. But we've seen example after example, especially yesterday, of teams with big leads, and that defense eases up a little bit. It happened to the Browns. It happened to the Raiders. It happened to the Ravens. And it almost happened to the Eagles last Sunday.
Yeah, the great Mike McDonald, by the way. The great Mike McDonald.
By the way,
Ravens.
No relation. He spells it with an A. Yes. So there is no relation. I'm not taking any of the blame for yesterday's Ravens collapse. Put that on a different McDonald. All right, Ricky. What kind of a factor is the crowd tonight?
Huge.
How big a hand in the game do they have? Johnny Mac told me you couldn't even hear yourself think in Detroit last week, and he thinks that helped the Lions kind of stay in the game. Usually it affects the other team's offense more, and the Eagles put up 38 points. I don't know how much the home field, the crowd noise level actually did play in that game. But assuming it does, how big a factor is the Eagle crowd tonight?
Look, that place is going to be wild tonight. The weather is fantastic. It's comfortable. People are going to be gassed up, fueled up a little bit. Okay?
Yes, they are. They're already there, Ricky.
From the tailgating in the parking lot. Look, I think this is a game where you need to establish dominance early, and that might be enough in the mental aspect of the chess game to carry you through 60 minutes of action on the field. So I do think Eagles Nation right now is highly anticipating this matchup. Philadelphia loves to be in the spotlight, whether it's negative or positive. We just, as Jody, as you said, good. All publicity is good publicity. And it's on ABC. It's not even the ESPN half of this doubleheader tonight. It's national TV, over the air, 8:30. It's the late. It's got every element that Philadelphia and this fan base loves. An undefeated Eagle team with high expectations against the same team that they beat in the NFC Championship game just a few years ago to go to the Super Bowl. So the visual is still there of success against the Viking horn helmet. I think the crowd is going to be beyond off the charts tonight, and I think it'll help much more. I think it'll pump up the defense. I think the offense and Hurts are very business-like. They'll go about their business in a certain way. But if there's anyone that needs a little charge tonight, a little, red-hot branding iron, it's the defense, and I think that crowd may provide a little bit of impetus to get that defense fired up tonight.
Well, I'm going to blame Ed Kratz for this one, and I'm going to, our buddy Ed, and I'm going to steal something from Jody, the hypothetical, Ricky. Right. So I'm going to talk about the crowd. They defer. So the Eagles win the coin toss. They defer, so they get Jody Mack upset from that perspective. They kick off. The Vikings go down the field, 7-0, 3 and out. They get the football back. They score again. It's 14-0. Does that crowd turn on Jonathan Gannon? Does it become a worse situation for the Eagles?
Well, that's the risk you run. Yes, I if that scenario plays out the way you just said, John, then I can hear they could be boo birds before halftime, because I think we're on that brink right now where this crowd wants to see if Cousins gets hit. Let's say, I don't know, Reddick sacks him on that first drive. This place is going to go bananas. But if Cousins starts, with a screen pass to Cook to the left, hits Jefferson down the field, maybe hits the tight end on a third down, and they go right down the field, this place could go an extreme from one end to the other, do a complete 180 as far as the energy is concerned very, very quickly. That is the one risk you take, especially with a situation like you've got tonight, where there's going to be a lot of emotion in the seats.
All right, so Johnny Mac goes completely pessimistic, glass half empty with his hypothetical, but it is just a hypothetical. I get that. Now we got to actually get on the record. Rickie Ricardo.
Yes, sir.
After 60 minutes of football tonight, the possibilities exist on both sides, up and down, good and bad. What does your crystal ball say when the game is over and done with? Are the screaming Eagle fans heading out to the parking lot with the EAGLES, or are they cursing Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen because Jalen Hurts ran and got hurt? Which way's it going? We talking a W or an L for the Eagles against the Vikings tonight?
My bold prediction for tonight is that the smallest guy on the field will make the biggest difference, and that would be one Jake Elliott.
I thought you were going Britton Covey on me. Wow, I was getting excited.
Jake Elliott will kick the winning field goal. The Eagles will win this game 27-24.
27-24. So slightly on the over, because the over-under is 50. So you got it just over, but the Eagles winning and covering. Ricky, always a pleasure, buddy. Have a great call tonight. How do you say, what can Brown do for you again?
¿Qué puede ser Brown por usted?
He may just sneak it in there tonight. Ricky, always a pleasure, buddy. Thanks much.
Now I'm going to use it.
Yes, you are. I knew you would.
If I get a cease and desist letter, I'm sending it to the McDonald residence.
Whatever the fine is, I'll pay half.
You got a deal.
That is Rickie Ricardo, the voice.